Here is something you already know without knowing you know it. When someone says she has an incredible voice, you understand immediately. You have a picture. But if someone asks you to explain the difference between a soprano and a mezzo-soprano, you probably go quiet. Or why a baritone sounds different from a tenor, you probably go quiet. You have the experience, you just don't have the words yet. That is what this episode is for. Every voice has a timbre. You remember this word from episode 8. It is the distinctive quality of a sound, the thing that makes a piano sound like a piano and not a guitar. Every human voice has its own timbre, its own fingerprint of tone. No two voices sound exactly alike, but voices can be grouped. And the system for grouping them is called register. Register. A particular range or quality of a voice or instrument, the part of the total range where it naturally sits. Register is the address system of the singing world. When we talk about a voice's register, we mean, where does this voice live? How high? How low? And what does it sound like in its natural territory? There are 6 main registers in classical vocal classification, 3 for female voices, 3 for male. Together they map the entire range of the human singing voice. Let's start at the top. The highest female voice is soprano. Soprano. The highest singing voice in standard classification, a singer with this voice type. Soprano comes from the Italian sopra, above. A soprano lives in the upper part of the vocal map. When you hear a voice that seems to float above everything else, that is almost certainly a soprano. Think of the opening of a Puccini opera, that voice cutting through the orchestra from above. In pop music, the very top of Mariah Carey's range is soprano territory. In a school choir, the sopranos sit in the first row on the right and spend a lot of time in the stratosphere. Their counterpart on the female side are mezzo-sopranos, who sing in the middle female range, and contraltos, the lowest female voices. Warm, dark, rare. On the male side, the equivalent of the soprano is tenor. Tenor, the highest standard adult male singing voice, a singer with this voice type. Tenor comes from the Latin tenere, to hold. In early choral music, the tenor voice held the main melody. Today, the tenor is the voice that carries the big romantic moment in an opera, the high note at the climax. In pop terms, think of the upper range of Bruno Mars or Justin Timberlake, that brightness and reach. Tenors tend to be the celebrities of the choir. Below the tenor is baritone. Baritone, a male singing voice between tenor and bass, warm and mid-range. Baritone comes from the Greek barus, heavy, plus tonos, tone, a heavy tone. The baritone is the most common male voice type. Most men who sing casually are baritones. The baritone range is warm, full, grounded. In opera, the baritone is often the villain or the wise older figure. In everyday speech, a voice that sounds naturally authoritative and warm without effort is almost certainly baritone. And at the bottom of the map is bass. Bass, the lowest standard singing voice, a singer whose voice operates in the deepest register. Bass is self-explanatory in sound, but worth naming. The lowest. The foundation. The note you feel more than hear in a large concert hall. A bass voice in a choir is the reason the room vibrates. In film scores, bass voices signal gravity, threat, or ancient authority. Johnny Cash spent his career in bass baritone territory. James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader, is a bass. These 6 voice types, soprano, mezzo-soprano, contralto, tenor, baritone, bass, work together because of harmony, and sometimes because of dissonance. You know both of these words. Harmony is when voices blend toward a single coherent sound. Dissonance is when they clash in ways that create tension, not always unpleasant, but always felt. But here is a subtlety the labels don't tell you. Knowing a singer's voice type tells you their range, the notes they can reach. It doesn't tell you their tessitura. Tessitura, the range within which a voice sounds most natural and effortless, the comfortable center of a voice distinct from its full range. Tessitura, texer, Latin, to weave. Texture, textile, context, pretext, text. From the Latin texere, to weave. Tessitura literally means texture in Italian. It describes the weave of the voice, where it sits most naturally, not where it can reach if it stretches. Two sopranos can have the same range on paper, but completely different tessituras. One might be most comfortable in the upper middle, another might thrive lower with a darker sound. From texture, we also get textile, cloth that is woven. Texture, the feel of a surface. Context, the weave of circumstances around an idea. And text itself, language woven together. Tessitura is where a voice is at home in its weave. The voices we find most beautiful tend to share a quality. Their resonance fills a space. You know this word. Resonance is the depth and fullness of a sound, the way it vibrates in a room and lingers. A voice with rich resonance sounds larger than the body producing it. When that resonance has a specific character, smooth, flowing, sweet, the word is mellifluous. Mellifluous. Sweetly and smoothly flowing, having a quality that is pleasing to hear, like honey. Mellifluous. Mel, Latin honey, plus fluere, Latin to flow. Melody, fluid, fluent, flux, affluent, influence. From the Latin mel, honey, and fluere, to flow. Mellifluous means honey flowing. A mellifluous voice moves easily without roughness or effort, the way honey falls rather than drips. The same root fluere gives us fluid, moving without resistance. Fluent, speaking a language without friction. Flux, continuous flowing change. Affluent, flowing with wealth. And influence, the power that flows from one thing into another. When a teacher's voice is described as mellifluous, it means their words arrive smoothly, without edges. When mellifluous is too gentle a word, when a voice is not just smooth but deep and full, filling a room with weight, the word is sonorous. Sonorous. Deep, full, and imposingly rich in sound, having a pleasingly impressive quality. Sonorous is what you feel in your chest when a bass voice holds a low note in a stone cathedral. Sonorous is the word for the sound of a large church bell, or a cello in the lower register. Outside music, a sonorous speech is one that sounds weighty and impressive. At the opposite, gentler end, dulcet. Dulcet, sweet and soothing to hear, softly pleasant. Dulcet is honey without the weight. Where mellifluous describes a flowing quality and sonorous describes depth, dulcet describes softness and sweetness. It often shows up with light irony in modern writing. Dulcet tones is sometimes used to describe a voice that the writer finds annoyingly pleasant, but in its straightforward sense, a dulcet voice is one you would not mind hearing at any hour. The opposite of all of these, of mellifluous, sonorous, dulcet, is cacophony. Cacophony, a harsh, discordant mixture of sounds, loud and unpleasant noise. Cacophony comes from the Greek kakos, bad, plus phone, sound. Bad sound. It is the word for what happens when too many things are making noise at once without any organizing principle. A rehearsal hall where every musician is warming up a different piece. A subway platform at rush hour. Cacophony is the enemy of the musical. It also describes any chaotic mixture of competing elements. Where dynamics give music its shape, the range from quiet to loud, cacophony is what happens when that shape breaks down entirely. 6 voice types. A vocabulary for what makes them sound the way they do. Part 2 is about what music does with those voices once it has them, and the words that crossed from music into everything else. Word recap. 15 words. Bank these. Register. The range where a voice naturally lives. Its address on the vocal map. Soprano. The highest female singing voice. Tenor. The highest standard male singing voice. Baritone. The mid-range male voice. Warm, grounded, the most common. Bass. The lowest singing voice, the foundation. Tessitura. Where a voice is most comfortable, distinct from its full range. Mellifluous. Smooth and honey-flowing, pleasant and effortless to hear. Sonorous. Deep, full, and impressively rich in sound. Dulcet. Softly sweet and soothing. Cacophony, a harsh, discordant clash of sounds. Plus 5 you already know. Timbre, resonance, harmony, dissonance, and dynamics. Part 1 was about the voices, what they are, how they differ, what makes them sound the way they do. Part 2 is about what music does with those voices once it has them, and the words that traveled out of music into everything else. You know cadence from episode 8, the sequence of notes that brings a phrase to a close, the musical equivalent of a period at the end of a sentence. Cadence is about ending. The word we're starting with now is about returning. A motif is a phrase that keeps coming back. A recurring element, a short musical phrase, image, or idea that gives a work its sense of pattern and purpose. Think of the 4-note opening of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Da 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 dum. That pattern appears at the start, and then keeps returning, transformed, developed, answered. The same idea in a new key, the same rhythm with a different instrument. The listener's brain stores the motif on first hearing and then experiences everything that follows in relation to it. Outside music, the word does exactly the same work. A novel has motifs, a recurring image, a repeated phrase, a theme that keeps surfacing in new forms. A film has visual motifs. You can even describe a conversation's motifs. Wherever something keeps returning with meaning, motif is the precise word. Every song has a part everyone knows, not the verse. The verses are different each time. The part that comes back, the one you were waiting for. That returning part is the refrain, a repeated section of a song, especially the chorus, to stop yourself from doing something, to hold back. One word, two meanings, and the SAT tests both. As a noun, the refrain is the recurring musical section, the chorus that anchors the song. As a verb, she refrained from commenting means she held herself back from saying the thing she wanted to say. On a test, context tells you which meaning applies. But notice they share something. In both senses, something is returning, or almost returning. And in the verb form, being held back from returning. When you refrain from speaking, your words are like a chorus that stays unsung. Between acts of an opera, the main lights come up and the audience stretches. But the musicians often keep playing. A short connecting piece, a musical pause between the larger movements. That pause is an interlude. A pause or interval between the main parts of something. A connecting passage or episode. Inter, Latin, between. Plus ludus, Latin, play, game, prelude, elude, delude, allude, ludicrous, ludic. From inter, between, and ludus, play or game. An interlude is literally a between play. The same root builds prelude, before the play. Elude, to play away from, to slip out of reach. Delude, to play tricks on someone's mind. Allude, to play towards something indirectly. And ludicrous, so playful it becomes absurd. The word ludus is at the center of a surprisingly large family. Wherever something is playful, indirect, or happening between other things, these words appear. Before the main event of a concert, there is often something smaller, a short piece that warms up the room, establishes a mood, prepares the listener for what is coming. That opening gesture is a prelude, an introductory piece of music that precedes a larger work, any event that signals or prepares the way for something larger. A prelude is a promise. It tells you, pay attention, the real thing is arriving. Outside music, the word keeps that meaning intact. The border skirmishes were a prelude to full-scale conflict. The awkward dinner felt like a prelude to a difficult conversation. A prelude doesn't require music. It requires something that comes before and makes the thing after feel inevitable. After everything has been resolved, after the climax, after the themes have returned one last time and found their answer, a composer sometimes adds one more thing. A short closing section that says, and this is where we end. The word for that final section is coda, a concluding musical passage that rounds off a piece. Any final section added after the main structure is complete. Coda comes from the Latin cauda, a tail. It is what comes after the ending has already ended. A coda is not the climax. The climax has already passed. A coda is the composer turning back briefly to leave one last thought. Writers use it. A chapter called coda signals a postscript, an epilogue, a final word the author couldn't leave out. As a coda to this story, You will see that phrase in literary writing whenever an extra observation follows a complete thought. The overture opened the evening. The coda closes it. Part 2 shifts now, from musical structure to the people who perform it. Music attracts a specific kind of person young. A child who hears something and cannot stop, who practices without being asked, who masters by 10 what others never will. The word for that child is prodigy. A young person with exceptional abilities, someone whose talent seems extraordinary for their age. Prodigy comes from the Latin prodigium, an omen, a wonder, a sign outside the natural order. A prodigy is something nature produced that shouldn't have been possible yet. Mozart was composing symphonies at 8. Itzhak Perlman performed on Israeli national radio at 10. A prodigy is not merely gifted, they are the exception to the expected timeline. Outside music, the word travels, a chess prodigy, a math prodigy, a soccer prodigy. Wherever a child achieves what usually requires decades of adult experience, prodigy is the word. Behind most prodigies is someone who recognized them early and took responsibility for what came next. That person's student is called a protégé, a person who is guided, trained, and promoted by an experienced and influential person. Protégé, French to protect, from Latin pro plus tegere to cover, protect, protection, detective, detect im integument. From the French protéger, to protect itself from the Latin pro and tegere. A protégé is someone covered, shielded, brought along by the protective influence of a more powerful person. The root tegere gives us protect, to cover against harm. Protection, and perhaps surprisingly, detect, to uncover, to remove the cover from something hidden. And detective, one who uncovers. Even integument, the technical word for skin, the body's covering. A protégé is covered by their mentor's experience and reputation, given access and opportunities they could not have reached alone. Some performers have more than skill. They have a quality that is difficult to name. The sense that they are doing something technically impossible and making it look effortless, even joyful. The word for that quality of performance is bravura. Great technical skill and brilliance in performance, a showy display of mastery. Bravura is Italian for bravery, but in performance it means something more specific. A kind of technical daring, the willingness to attempt what is genuinely difficult and to make the difficulty invisible. A bravura passage in a piece is one designed to show off what the performer can do. Outside music, a bravura performance in the courtroom, or a bravura opening chapter, anywhere someone attempts something technically demanding and pulls it off with style. When that skill reaches its absolute ceiling, when someone has spent so long doing something that they move through it as easily as speaking their own language, the word is virtuosity. An exceptionally high level of skill in a particular art or craft. Mastery at its most refined. You know virtuoso from episode 4, a person of exceptional skill. Virtuosity is the quality itself, the state of being there. A performance of virtuosity is one where every technical problem has already been solved. The fingers know what to do before the mind asks. There is nothing labored about it. What remains is interpretation. Because when technique is no longer the obstacle, music has room to become something else. What it sounds like when virtuosity is also effortless, when a voice or a melody rises and falls in a pattern so pleasing it becomes almost hypnotic, the word is lilt. A pleasant rising and falling rhythm in a voice or melody, a cheerful rhythmic quality of sound or movement. A lilt is light. A voice with a lilt moves. It lifts and settles, the way a good folk melody does. It makes listening easy. Crescendo, improvise, ensemble, the tools of the musician, can all be done with lilt or without it. The difference is whether the music sounds like it is enjoying itself. Music, at its best, sounds like it is enjoying itself. 30 words, 20 new, 10 review. Bank these. Part 1, the human instrument, register, soprano, tenor, baritone, bass, tessitura, mellifluous, sonorous, dulcet, cacophony. Part 2, how music thinks, motif, a recurring element that gives a work its sense of pattern. Refrain, the repeated section, also to hold yourself back from doing something. Interlude, a pause or connecting passage between main events. Prelude, an introduction that prepares the way for something larger. Coda, a concluding passage, the tail end that comes after the ending. Prodigy, a young person of extraordinary ability. Protégé, someone guided and promoted by a more experienced person. Bravura, showy technical brilliance, daring mastery on display. Virtuosity, the highest refinement of skill, mastery without obstruction. Lilt, a pleasant rhythmic rise and fall in voice or melody, plus 10 you already know: timbre, resonance, harmony, dissonance, dynamics, cadence, overture, crescendo, improvise, and ensemble. Subscribe button, music fade, end card.